Assalamualaikum and hi, we are from Group 2. Would like to present about topic 2, which is Strategic Management Accounting. I am Nurul Farzana binti Azmi 264754 as a first presenter. So the objective of this topic is to identify the strategic issues in management accounting, to describe the issues conceptually, to explain approaches used in handling the strategic issues, discuss the role of management accounting, confronting the issues, and lastly, to discuss strategic environmental management accounting. First of all, we are going to define the term of strategy, strategic planning, strategic management, and strategic management accounting. Generally, strategy is defined as the action plans implemented by the organization to accomplish its specific goals and objectives. In this topic, strategy is suitable to define as an integrated set of actions aimed at securing a sustainable competitive advantage. And strategic planning means a process of designing a mission statement, setting long-term goals and objectives, and establishing strategies. Meanwhile, strategic management means long-term planning, implementation, and control, which provide a framework for all actions that the manager has to take and how they are assessed. And strategic management accounting means the role of management accounting itself in the strategic analysis, planning, and control of an organization. 2.1 is about concept and strategic issues in management accounting. So what do you know about strategic management accounting? There are so many definitions about this term, and after combine all of the definitions, it can be defined as taking a strategic orientation to the generation, interpretation, and analysis of management accounting information and the competitors' activities that provides the key dimension for comparison. And what is the difference between management accounting and strategic management accounting? Management accounting is emphasized on the role of financial information in decision-making across a range of business problems. However, it did not consider the business context in which those decisions were embedded. But for strategic management accounting, it emphasized on formulating and supporting the overall strategy of an organization by developing an integrated framework of performance measurement. And among the objectives of strategic management accounting is to provide motivation, set the style of the business, become a guideline for action, and to provide the basis of measuring performance. 2.2 is about the need to handle strategic issues. Here are some reasons why strategic management is a crucial business practice. The first one is because of planning. So this is an essential management tools for any company. The main task in the strategic management accounting process is predicting future trends that will help the business in building its organization. So in order to make this happen, strategic management accounting tools need to be used instead of simple planning process. The second one is about strength and weakness. No one knows a business better than its owner. However, just being aware of the strength and weakness of a business, it is not enough. So strategic management accounting is employed to bridge the gap between the capability void and the strength of the company. The third one is about forward thinking. Through a well-planned strategic management accounting, the company will be able to draw up clear and long-term goals. So these goals are important so that they have a different ideas on how to move forward, which can prove beneficial for an organization's overall growth. And lastly, resource allocation. Strategic management accounting teach a company to make sure that the company resources in terms of products and services have been wisely used and invested in the most promising opportunities. So now there are several strategy and techniques in management accounting have been discussed, such as life cycle costing, Kaizen costing, target costing, and benchmarking. So for a simple understanding, life cycle costing means strategic analysis tool discussed in form of life cycle cost management, which emphasize on cost reduction, and life cycle cost analysis. And the second one is Kaizen costing, which is the effort to reduce cost of existing products and process continually, which is this tool is widely used in Japanese automobile industry. The next one is target costing. Target costing means the difference between the sales price needed to capture a predetermined market share and the desired per unit profit. The sales price reflects the product specification or functions valued by its customers. Lastly is benchmarking. Benchmarking is a close phenomenon to competitor accounting. Competitor accounting is a special accounting base from a strategic level benchmarking. And what is the difference between benchmarking and competitor accounting? Benchmarking is often based on inter-organizational cooperation, but competitor accounting does not include cooperation with the object of this comparison activity. That's all from me. I would like to pass the presentation to our next member for further understanding.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Amira Fawizah binti Amran, metric number 261035. Today, I will explain in more detail about the strategic issues and techniques in management accounting. As mentioned by my group member, there are 4 strategic issues and techniques in management accounting. I will explain about the life cycle costing. Firstly, we need to understand what is life cycle. Life cycle is a period of a product at the market. Meanwhile, life cycle analysis should consider the period between birth and decease, which studies the phases of life, the repeated pattern that occurs during life, the causes of and effects of incidents, and aiming at something that can be recognized and learned from the earlier life cycle. Life cycle costing is an approach to assess the total cost of ownership of a system during its operational life, where it embraces all costs associated with the feasibility studies, research and development, production, maintenance, replacement and disposal, support and training, and operating costs generated by the acquisition of any equipment. It is one of the ideal way in estimating the overall cost of a project alternative. Moreover, it is used to choose the right design to ensure the chosen alternative will offer a lower overall ownership cost that is consistent with the function and quality. Next, traditional management accounting procedures are more focused on the manufacturing stage of a product's life cycle. Meanwhile, LCC focuses on cost over the product's entire life cycle. This is to determine whether the profits earned during the manufacturing phase will cover the costs incurred during the pre- and post-manufacturing stage. On top of that, LCC needs to be done during the planning and design stage. This is to make sure that there is room for changes and refinements that will ensure the life cycle cost is reduced. As you can see in the diagram below, the planning and design stage is still in the early development. Next, we move on to the second strategic issues and techniques in management accounting, which is Kaizen costing. Kaizen refers to the improvement, which contains 2 elements, improvement and continuity, which means continuous improvement. Meanwhile, Kaizen costing is a maintenance or reduction of present cost level of a manufactured product via systematic efforts to achieve the desired cost level. These are the some advantages of Kaizen costing. First is cost reduction or low cost setup. This is because it uses the existing resources and information. Second is it improves the productivity and quality. Third is higher customer satisfaction, and lastly, safer facility. Is the difference between Kaizen costing and target costing. Kaizen costing is applied during manufacturing stage. It is more focused on the production process. Its aim is to reduce cost of process by a pre-specified amount, relying on employee empowerment. Meanwhile, target costing is applied during planning stage and more focused on product. I will pass to the next presenter to explain more detail about target costing. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Nashahira binti Ismail, 264418. So now I will continue the presentation with strategy or technique in management accounting. Okay, so for the third point is target costing. Target costing basically a new concept and adopted early 1970s by some Japanese companies. Okay, so target costing is also known as procedural approach to determine the maximum cost that allow for identify proposed product that will develop soon. This proposed product already have their own target profit margin. Okay, so basically with the target costing, the management can monitor the product from the early process of development and the onward. Okay, now I will proceed with the objective of target costing. Basically, there are two objectives, and the first one is to lower the cost. The company need to lower their cost to ensure the profit of the new product could be achieved, and they need to use this target costing. But even though they lower their cost, the quality of the product must meet the certain level, and the delivery timing and the price also could be accepted or required by the market. The second objective is to motivate the employee. The company should motivate their employee to make sure they can achieve the target profit during new product development. And this can be achieved by making target costing a company-wide profit management activity. Target costing is more focused to managing costs that happen during planning and also design the product or services. Okay, the next one is the step of target costing. Basically, there are 4 steps, which is the first one is to determine the price, where this price is accepted by the customer and they are able to pay for our product or the services. The second step is to determine the target cost. So we can determine the target cost by deduct target profit margin with target price. The third one is to estimate the actual cost that will happen during the production. And the last one is to make a correction. But this correction could happen if the estimate actual cost exceeded the target costing, and the company should driving down the estimate actual cost to the target cost. Target costing is iterative process which is include in 2 analysis, and the first one is teardown analysis. This analysis happen when the company is examine competitors' product to find any opportunity to reduce some cost and also make an improvement to their own product. Basically, from this examine, they can get to know their design, the function, the process, and also the cost that happen to the competitor's product. So, from the information they have gathered, they can use it as a benchmark to make sure that their product is more better in quality and also can reduce some of the costs that do not benefit or costs that can be avoided for the production. So the next one is value and functional analysis. So basically there is a bit different between value and also the functional analysis. For the value analysis, this analysis is known as cost avoidance or cost reduction during the production of the product, and company usually replace the material or composition without actually change the value of the product. But for the functional analysis, this analysis is done at the design or development process where they have an alteration or removing some features that do not give a big impact to the product. Now, I will continue with the last point of strategy and technique in management accounting, which is benchmarking. Benchmarking is basically defined as a process of studying and adapting the best practice of others' organization to improve our firm performance, and also to establish or set as a reference to ensure we can measure our internal performance. But then, basically, benchmark also can help the firm to understand how the industry norms and also can compare the process within one department to the other's department from the point of efficiency and also the productivity. And lastly, benchmark also allow company to improve their business by create specific standard of performance to make sure they can improve their performance from time to time. Now I will explain about 6 types of benchmarking, and the first one is internal benchmarking, which is the manager compare the process in one organization only. So for the example is the manager is compare the process of production in point of efficiency or productivity, department A and also the department B. The second one is functional benchmarking, and this benchmarking is common when the company is lack of information to their direct competitors. So basically, functional benchmarking is compare for example, they are compare the service quality. So if the airplane service and also the hotel service, they will compare their highest or the top services. The next one is the competitive benchmarking, and this is known as the company A and company B is produce the same thing and they are comparing each other. So for the example, the manager of Farm Fresh compare their sales to the Dutch Lady milk. So they can use Dutch Lady sales as their benchmarking. So for the fourth one is the strategic benchmarking. Basically, strategic benchmarking is to evaluate how successful the company to implement what they are planning before. So if they are on the right track, so basically they are successful to achieve their own benchmarking. Okay, the next one is product benchmarking. So basically, product benchmarking is when we compare the same product with the others organization. So for the example, we can compare between the size, the material, the price and also the quality. Okay, so for the last type of benchmarking is the process benchmarking. Basically, we focus on a selected or specific process rather than whole process. So as we can take for the example is packaging process. So this benchmarking is to identify the best process either in packaging batch 1 or packaging batch 2. And we can lead the manager to make sure they can improve their packaging process from time to time. Last but not least, I will explain about benchmarking process. So for the first process is company need to study of their internal problem where they need to do an improvement and also need to do preliminary competitive analysis. So for the second step is they need to develop a long-term commitment to the benchmarking project and also need to create one group for the benchmarking. So basically they need to know what their roles and what are they want to achieve in the future. So for the third one is they need to identify benchmarking partners. So basically they need to know who is or what type of organization they want to be as a partners to make a reference for the benchmarking. So for the fourth one is to gather the information and also create a method of solution. So the team members must collect as much as they can of information and they need to brainstorm how they want to achieve that solution. And the last one is to take an action. So all of team members and also the organization must take an action to make sure they can achieve or exceed the benchmarking. So basically that's all from me. I will pass to my team members. Thank you.
Thank you, Shahira. Next, I'm Huda binti Ahmad Zuhairi with metric number 261041. Will be explaining on the next subtopic on approaches in handling strategic issues. There are 4 approaches that we need to know for the company to handle their strategic issues. So I'll be explaining on the Potters approach while my friend Nur Hayati will be explaining the other 3 approaches. Firstly, we need to know that approaches are essential for a company to conduct their industry analysis. Industry analysis is a critical part of understanding a company's market position. It should tell the company whether they are faring or performing better or worse than the companies that provide similar products or services. At its core, industry analysis is designed to help the company to figure out how they can operate within an industry. Potter's approach is extremely established as a premium model to enhance the competitiveness of any industry. One of the challenges in using the framework is to understand what each of the nuances of the forces are. This approach is conceptualized by Michael Porter. Potter's 5 forces allows a company to identify their standing among competitors through specific industry forces. The better they understand these forces, the better they will be able to determine how they can impact on their long-term profitability. So, what are the Potter's 5 forces? The first one is the threat of new entrants. The second one is the threat of substitutes. The third one is the rivalry amongst the existing companies. The fourth one is the bargaining power of suppliers. And the last one is the bargaining power of consumers. The first one is the threat of new entrants. This encompasses the challenges surrounding if the new competitors were to enter into the same industry. There are a few factors that are being reviewed, whether the type of business that they were in are having this as issues. The issues are, do certain factors such as economics of scale, product differentiation, or capital requirement will protect the firm from the newcomers? Do other factors such as government regulations and policies will restrict the competition? To what degree is the firm protected from competitors from the new entrants in the industry? If it is easy to gain access into the industry, there will be a high level of new competitive rivals. The second one is the threat of the substitutes. This threat attempts to understand to what extent there is a possibility that the industry's output being substituted by some other category of products or services. Factors which predominantly matter in this force is whether the presence of the readily substitutable products increase the level of intensity of competition for the firm. For example, plastic, glass, and fiber foil exert pressure on the metal can market. Electronic alarm system versus the security guard market. Fax machine and electronics mail versus the express delivery. If there are a number of substitutes for a product or services on the market, buyers may have more options to seek out for similar products or services. It is important for a company to ensure their products or service maintains demand among their customers, or else buyers may be tempted to use an alternative. The third one is the rivalry amongst existing companies. Intense rivalry can be a result of high entry barriers, rapid product innovation, and slow growth in total market demand. How intense is the overall industry rivalry facing the firm? Industry with a larger number of competitive rivals make it difficult for a company to secure loyal customers because they have more options to choose from. Cost leadership and product differentiation can be a very effective strategies for helping to alleviate the risk that a company may face in a highly competitive industries. The fourth one is the bargaining power of suppliers. The greater the bargaining power of a firm's supplier, the greater the overall level of competition facing the firm. The bargaining power of a supplier will be higher when the group of suppliers to the firm is dominated by a few large firms, and when these suppliers have other good outlets for their products. For example, soft drink firms sell their products to fast food restaurant chains and athletic teams to gain a strong bargaining power. So, it is important to ensure that relationships with the suppliers are strong and they can see the value of working with the company. The last one is the bargaining power of consumers. The greater the bargaining power of a firm's customer, the greater the level of competition facing the firm. The bargaining powers of customer will likely be higher if there are relatively low switching costs and if the product are not differentiated. The size of a company's customer base can impact their ability to influence on pricing and quality of a certain product. Next, we will be reviewing the Porter's competitive advantage. Under the competitive strength or strategic advantage, we can see there are two focuses. The first one is the uniqueness deemed by the customer. The second one is the low cost position. There are three types of effective strategies that can be implemented by a company, whether to focus on the industry-wide or a specific segment only. The three strategies are differentiation strategy, cost leadership strategy, and focus strategy. The first one is the differentiation strategy. It aims to offer some unique dimension for their customers. It focuses to generate the customer value and also for their product to be difficult to be copied by the rivals. It strives to increase the customer value by increasing what the customer receives, which is by fulfilling the customer realization. For example, a retailer of computers might offer on-site repair service, a feature not offered by the other rivals on the local market. The second one would be the cost leadership strategy. It aims to be the lowest cost producer by focusing on the product design, scale of economics, and experience curve. They want to provide the same or better value of products to their customers at a lower cost than offered by their competitors. For example, a company might redesign their product so that a fewer parts needed, lowering their production costs and the cost of maintaining the products after purchase. The last one is the focus strategy, which is directed at a narrow segments to avoid strategy distraction, compete with limited resources, reduce competitive pressure, and also bypass their competitors' skills or assets. For example, Paging Network Incorporation, which is a paging services provider, has targeted a particular kind of customers and is in the process of weeding out the non-targeted customers. That's all from me. Next, I shall pass to my next group member, Nur Hayati.
Then I will explain about the approach. The first approach is Simon approach. Simon defined the strategic management accounting or SMA as the provision and analysis of management accounting data about a business and its competitor for use in developing and monitoring the business strategy. This approach emphasizes on 5 figures, which is here cost and price, volume, market share, cash flow, and the proportion demanded of an enterprise total resources. The Simon approach focuses on the shift from the analysis of cost per SE to the value of information, for example, data orientation versus information orientation. So, the significance of competitive position as being the basic determinant of future profit and the enterprise value. Second approach is Bromwich approach. The definition of strategic management accounting, according to Bromwich approach, is the provision and analysis of financial information on the firm product markets, competitor costs, cost structure, the monitoring of the enterprise strategies, and those of its competitor in this market over a number of periods. This Bromwich approach is been focusing on identifying the distinctive characteristic of market offering order that this might be costed. This approach also secure competitive advantage cost positioning related to rival should be conducted. This approach has its own purpose. The purpose of analysis is the attribution of costs which are normally treated as product costs to the benefit that they provide to the customer. Recommendation of this approach is leave separately the benefit to the consumer contained in the market offerings, then to relate costs to this. Last but not least is Auchi approach. Dr. William G. Auchi management theorist introduced theory Z in 1981, the class-based approach. Traditionally, strategy has been viewed as the response of an organization to the environment. A growing understanding that strategy of an enterprise, its structure, people who hold power, its control system, the way it operates reflect culture of ORG. Auchi suggested that Japanese commitment to democratic leadership that resulted in increasing in quality, increasing in productivity, and decreasing costs while making workers at all levels full partner in the business. Next, I will pass to my teammate, which is Sazwani, to explain about strategic environmental management accounting.
My name is Nur Shazwani binti Muhammad Fauzi, metric number 264430. Okay, next I will present about strategic environmental cost. Okay, first of all, environmental cost management is important because environmental costs can represent a large proportion of operating costs in some companies. Demand from society for companies to become environmentally friendly is also one of the reasons why environmental cost management is important. Okay, environmental costs are the costs that are incurred because of poor environmental quality which exists or may exist. These costs can also be referred as environmental quality costs, and these costs are linked with the creation, detection, remediation, and prevention of environmental degradation. Okay, there are 4 types of environmental costs, which is environmental prevention costs, environmental detection costs, internal failure environmental costs, and lastly external failure environmental costs. Okay, for the first one, which is environmental prevention costs, okay, these costs are costs that serve to prevent environmental defects from occurring.
Okay, the objective of this course is to minimize, if not eliminate, the amount of waste material generated. Okay, this environmental prevention course is also include all the costs associated with training employees in the proper methods of waste reduction and disposal. Okay, example of prevention activities are evaluating and selecting suppliers and studying environmental impacts. Okay, for the second one, which is environmental detection course. Okay, these courses are costs of activities executed to determine if products, process, and other activities within the company are in compliance with the appropriated environmental standards. Okay, environmental standards that companies seeks to comply regulatory laws of government, ISO 14001, which is a voluntary standard developed by International Organization and Standardization, and lastly, environmental policy developed by management. Okay, example of detection activity is auditing an environmental activity and inspecting products and process and carry out contamination tests. Okay, for the third one, which is environmental internal failure cost. Okay, this cost is cost of activities performed because the contaminants and waste have been produced but not discharged into environment. Okay, this cost is also incurred to eliminate and manage contaminants or waste once they are produced. Okay, example of environmental internal failure costs include operating equipment to minimize or eliminate pollution, treating and disposing of toxic materials, and lastly, maintaining pollution equipment. Okay, lastly is external failure environmental costs. Okay, these costs incurred because products fail to conform to requirement after being sold to outside parties. These costs are costs of activities performed after discharging contaminants and waste into the environment. Okay, there are two types of external failure environmental costs, which is realized costs and unrealized costs. Okay, firstly, for realized costs, realized costs are those incurred and paid for the company, while unrealized costs or societal costs are caused by the company but are incurred and paid by parties outside the company. Okay, that's all from me. Okay, next I will pass to the last presenter, which is Azaliza. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nur Azaliza binti Muhammad Faizul and my metric number is 261199. Okay, I will continue with the next subtopic, which is sustainable development and competitive advantage. First of all, what is sustainable development? Sustainable development is the overarching paradigm of the United Nations. According to Brundtland Commission report, sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. To be more specific, it is a way of organizing society so that it can exist in the long term. This is taking into account both the imperative present and those of the future, such as the preservation of the environment and natural resource, or social and economic equity. Okay, next is the dimension to sustainable development. Sustainable development combines three dimensions, which is social, economic, and environment. These three dimensions are intertwined and not separate. Sustainability is a paradigm for thinking about the future in which social, economic, and environment considerations are balanced in order to improve the quality of life. For example, environmental sustainability needs to be factored into many of the activities in which management accountants are likely to already be involved, such as planning and budgeting, information and data capture, costing, investment, appraisal, performance management, and reporting. Okay, there are three main goals of sustainable development, which is social efficiency, eco-justice, and eco-efficiency.
The first one is social efficiency. For example, like reduce income inequalities, promote universal social, ensure equal opportunities, and end discrimination. The second one is eco-justice. Eco-justice is where the physical flow of resources and raw material is realistic. And the last one is eco-efficiency. In order to improve environmental performance while enjoying economic benefit, companies need to be innovative and environmentally sensitive and be able to integrate environmental information into their business strategies. Companies need to have a proper information system in which integrate all relevant information and provide search information for managerial decision making. Next is the sustainable development and sustainability. What is the difference between these two? Sustainability is the goal of the process of sustainable development, or in other words, is often thought as a long-term goal. For example, a more sustainable world, while sustainable development is balancing concept between economic growth and environmental protection. It is the process to achieve it. For example, like sustainable agriculture and forestry, sustainable production and consumption, good government, research and technology transfer, and education and training. Okay, the last one is eco-control. Eco-control is the application of financial and strategic control method to environmental management. It is about learning how people in the firm manage to control environmental issues as a whole. Eco-control also ensures that environmental issues are dealt with through a continuous process. Lastly, it is similar to management control system, which is planning, action, measurement, comparison between plans and actual outcome, feedback, and revision of expectation for future period. I think that's all from my group. Thank you.